Welcome to the third episode of the SyNoShOw. And today's topics are this week's RRR featuring Best Girl Uriel, some of my tips and recommendations regarding the 6-star Selector pack, and last but not least, my first reaction to the new quiz minigame. But before we get into our first topic, let me tell you that you should probably join my now open community Discord, because we need you there. And if you really like my content a lot, maybe even think about becoming a channel member to get also access to these amazing perks. But enough of that, now let's get right into our first topic of today, in our first segment, news. And obviously this is this week's RRR featuring Uriel as the 6-star and Nemesis and Areia as the 5 stars on this banner. And like usual, we are going to do this lightning fast and blast through these characters. First off, Nemesis. She's the cross converter of the thunder element, so you already know what that means: high cooldown, but really good breakthroughs and really good payoff with that active skill, creating lots of yellow tiles for you to use. Vital in burst setups, also really good sometimes for hard content like Spire where you need to make use of these tiles. Overall, what can I say? Nemesis has sniper chains, and the highlight is still the active skill, and that's also the only reason to use her. It's really good to pick up BT3, and MBT makes them crazy good and potentially the best converters in the game, so if you're close to MBT, you should probably try to go for it, and even picking up her first copy or her BT2 is not too bad. Next is Areia, and I don't think I have to say how good Areia truly is. If you watched my Forest Healers video, you already know what I think about her, and if you didn't do that, right after this video. So, Areia is great. She's one of the strongest DPS characters in the game, just amazing raw DPS with a small downside. For newer players she can be sometimes a bit rough to use because of this downside where she reduces her own death, but in general if you get her up to A3 and a decent equipment level, she is going to wreck 4-tile enemies and also single-tile enemies as well because of that attack buff. So yeah, Areia is an amazing DPS, probably one of the strongest ones alongside Regal. And regarding her BTs, those are also quite nice. BT2 is basically the only one you really want to have to make those turn 1 burst turns possible, but MBT is only min-maxing for people that are close to it or just whale, so BT2 is great. And that already brings us to our highlight of the banner. Well, for me personally, it's definitely the highlight of the banner, because the 6-star is Best Girl Uriel, and you already know what I think about her. I think design-wise she's one of the most amazing characters in the game. Unfortunately, there isn't really much lore yet for her. She didn't really show up in an event, and gameplay-wise, she isn't really that amazing either. She's a whole field resetter, and resetting isn't always that useful, but when it is useful, it is really. Because if you have to deal with broken or locked tiles, then you do want someone like Uriel in your team, for example the board and boss fight and co. But that also means that she is quite niche to use, and her equipment that supports the burn mechanic isn't really that great either, because burn is only one of the weaker dot-based effects. She can be quite useful for endgame content, but overall you're not going to use her a whole lot, except for those reset scenarios. So picking her up is probably not the greatest idea, except if you really like her like me, or if you really want to kind of round up your fire with every option available. But if you want to use her, BT3 is definitely a quite nice pickup to get that whole field reset directly on turn 1, and MBT makes her actually a really good character because it increases the number of red tiles you can get, making her actually a converter. So at MBT she is quite good. Outside of that she's very niche, but she's still Best Girl. And with that, we are done for this banner, and really quickly let me tell you if you should roll on this banner, and the answer is quite simple. Roll at least for the guaranteed 5-star. There's Nemesis, amazing pickup. There's Areia, amazing pickup. You should really roll for the guaranteed 5-star. The only excuse to not go for it is basically if you already have both of them and you already have Nemesis and MBT. Else you should really roll for the guaranteed 5-star, and I don't think you really need to pick up Uriel except if you like her. So this was this week's RR, and with that we can already move on to our next topic of today. which is a very huge one, because this is all about the new 6-star selector ticket. This is basically our New Year's present from Tourdog for being good navigators. That it's not for free, we do have to pay roughly 30 USD, but this pack is quite good, as it doesn't only give 10 blue flares, which will help you for the Dragonmaid collab, but also of course the chance to pick up one 6-star Aurorian guaranteed, and you can pick who. So this is quite amazing. But to get right out of the way, if you should pick this up or not, the answer is, it depends. If you have the financial ability to do so, and you don't need the money, then listen on, and for everybody else, yeah, just skip. This pack is pretty nice, but it's more important to have a stable financial life, always remember that. And before we go on, small disclaimer. If you don't really need the character you want to pick right now, you might as well wait if you are planning on rolling for the Dragonmaid collab, and maybe even for the January banner. We don't even know what's on it yet. So it's definitely quite the smart decision to just wait with the ticket. You can buy it right now and use it later, because it expires in about mid-February, so you have still a lot of time to decide, and you might get the character you want to pick as an off-banner spook. So let's get into the selection pack and your options, plus also of course my recommendations and tips. But before we do that, we do have to clear up who exactly is available on this pack. And the answer is pretty simple, as you can pick basically everyone from the standard banner pool, plus every new character up until Ocean Sovereign. That means Beryl and Fleur are not included, but everyone before is. Let's get into my recommendations. And of course, I'm going to talk about Hero first, because if you don't have Hero, you should pick up Hero. She's probably one of the strongest characters in the game gameplay-wise, and her looks are also top tier. What else do you want? If you want to know how good she exactly is, just check out my Forest tier list video. But in general, she's a Selectile to Converter and a DPS in one, so she fulfills 2 roles but only takes up 1 team slot, and she does both quite well. So if you don't have Hero, pick up Hero. If you already have Hero, you might want to think about picking up BT3, because it's quite a huge power spike, getting those 2 tiles right at turn 1, making her way stronger for burst setups. But of course that only is the case if you don't need anyone else. So let's get right into my second high priority recommendation, which is basically every 4-tile converter. If you're missing one, you should probably grab them. That's all I can say. Conversion is king, 4-tile converters are the best converters. There's nothing else to add. And if you're more looking for a DPS in the fire department, you should probably look for Sinza or Karen. Once again, if you want to know a bit more about the situation between those two, check out my fire tier list video. Both are really solid choices if you want to grab a fire DPS, as they are some of the strongest ones in general. And while we're already at DPS characters, the last one I want to mention for a high priority pick is Michael. Michael is a crazy powerhouse, as she is basically a standard detonator with some added utility, and she also deals damage based on the max HP of the enemy. So she is quite good for hard content, as you don't have to rely on your own damage output, and always have the stable damage output that's never gonna change. So Michael is a quite nice pickup, and she also looks quite cool. And that's everything I would recommend for the DPS characters, but there's still one converter I want to mention that's also quite high priority, which is obviously everyone's favorite TV judge, Eridon. Eridon is basically the big sister of Hero, while she is taking everything a bit more peaceful, so she isn't really DPS focused and not a mixed hybrid character like Hero, but she commits fully to the Selectile conversion. In her case, she converts tiles into prism tiles, which are quite weird. I'm not going to explain them, of course not because I can't. I just am a busy man, so I don't have the time, sorry. But if you step on these tiles, you basically get some bonus converted tiles in the direction you stepped in. Something like that. So that also means that the skill can technically convert between 2 and 6 tiles. So yeah, Eridon is the best Selectile converter in the game. Unfortunately, her preemptive strike is locked behind whale cash money, so we're probably never going to see it. but even picking up one copy of her is quite nice. And that's basically everything for the high priority characters. But if you don't really need any of these and already have them, then don't worry, because we're now going to switch to the medium priority characters, which are few, but they are definitely also quite worthwhile. And my first pick is Megard. She is basically still one of the top snipers in the game because of her really huge stats. And of course also her 2-turn teleport, which is quite nice not only in forest but also for rainbow teams or in general if you need some more utility in your life. And speaking of that teleport, of course we can't forget about Sharona. She's also one of the best DPS characters in her element, which is water. She does have a 3-turn global teleport with some damage on top of it. She does have really good damage potential thanks to her equipment. Even though she probably loses out to the other top tier DPSs, she does provide some mobility, which is always nice to see. Which is also the case for Colleen, who is basically the blue original version of Heidi. And if you watched my Heidi review, then you already know what I think about Colleen, and if you didn't, you should do that right now, after finishing this video of course. And well, Colleen has basically the same strengths and weaknesses, except that she's in a water element, so that's a lot better because that means she doesn't have as much competition. And her equipment is also quite nice, providing that rather small but still really nice to have piercing damage. And of course the stacking mechanic, which gives her more damage for 1 turn for every blue tile she stepped on, which overall gives her quite the decent damage potential. Combined with her teleport column conversion, this makes her overall a pretty strong character that's not too bad to pick up. And yeah, that was all of them, which means next are the lower priority characters, aka the ones you only want to get if they are waifu or husbando material. So gameplay wise, these characters are not the greatest. And we're going to start this off with my favorite character in the game, Uriel. She is not exactly not usable, but she's not the greatest. Burn isn't that great of a mechanic, and reset isn't either, but she does have her uses. A global field reset can be quite useful when fighting against locked and broken tiles, which means she isn't useless. So you can pick her. If you pick her, you're a Chad. But if you need any of the other high and medium priority characters, you should definitely pick those instead. Uriel is mostly there, either if you have her MBT for gameplay reasons or else for everything I mentioned before. And speaking of reset characters, we of course also have Raphael. Same thing applies. Gabriel, similar case, but she is the Thanos of Alchemy Stars, so there is that. But I wouldn't exactly pick her from this ticket, as there are quite better choices available. And speaking of better choices, there's of course also Jonah and Victoria. Victoria isn't really that great anymore. She basically doesn't have her healer place in the fire element anymore, even though she never really had that place, because there's no Novio who's much better at healing and also dealing damage. So Victoria is basically only here to provide bleeding stacks, which she can do, but there's a lot better options available. And Jonah is a weird case. Limited sniper, and she isn't even really a sniper, as her active skill promotes her to be more of a detonator sniper hybrid, which actually makes her quite worse overall, because there are way stronger detonator options in the fire element. And speaking of snipers that aren't really that great, Wrath. Wrath is rough. She's unfortunately not that great, even though her skill on paper is amazing, as she does have a crazy high cooldown, and that means she's kind of unusable without her preemptive strike, which she doesn't even have access to, even with her breakthroughs. So that means until she does get a rework or buff, she's only going to be used for CC. So don't pick her. Same applies for Connolly. I'm not going to say anything. Connolly, don't pick her, no. And that's it. These were basically my recommendations regarding the new 6-star selection pack. So if you want to buy it or not, you'd have to decide yourself, but if you're looking for some advice, please take this into consideration. So, like I already mentioned, we are now going to check out the new minigame that's now active in the game. So this is going to be my first reaction. I didn't check this out yet, I am really excited to actually see what this has in store for us, so we will see. We do have the first leg mirror question available, and I'm now going to embarrass myself. So let's get into the normal mode. Answering time starting soon, let's see. Where's the tier hotel? I think it's a beach. Yeah, okay, nice. During the battle, how do you stop an Aurorian from moving? Tap the tile where the Aurorian is located, double tap any tile. Wait a moment, how do you stop an Aurorian from moving? Tap the tile where the Aurorian is located. No, what? Double tap the double tap, true. Is the protagonist an Aurorian? Obviously he isn't. Is Sinza the boss of Radius Wrench? Yes, he is. It is easy. What weapon does Vice use? Bow. Come on, this is baby mode. Eve is Sinza's younger sister. Wow, come on. Chainsaw Rick possesses a demi-human bloodline and has rabbit ears. Okay. Which of the following Aurorians has an active skill that can change tile color? It's Gabriel. Of course, she's a tile resetter, so yeah. So we actually almost flawlessly went through the normal mode. That was quite easy. So let's check out the hard mode. Let's see. Answering time starting soon. Where's the tier hotel? That's the same question, huh? Is Sinza... what? Why is this hard? What room controls the Colossus? The bridge, like in every ship. Is the protagonist an Aurorian? No. These are all the old questions from the normal mode. What is the maximum number of Lumina storages that can be built? I think it's 4, yeah. Is Korgan an Aurorian or an animal? Who is Korgan? I guess he's an animal. No, he's an Aurorian. Wait. Oh wait, that's the water guy. What does Klekenov call himself? Scam artist, Octobro, Kraken. Liar. I think it's either scam artist or liar. I'm not quite sure which one though. I'm gonna go with scam artist. Yeah, okay. Which of the following Aurorians has an active skill with the least number of initial cooldown rounds? And that's probably Nikiness, right? Yeah. Congratulations. What? That was easy. Come on, bro. Come on. That was easy. So what can I say? This mode is quite easy for now. I guess there are some really tricky questions, especially if you don't know everything about Alchemy Stars. Some of these questions can be quite tricky, but normal is super easy and hard so far isn't the hardest. I'm pretty sure that when we get to the last batch of questions, this is going to be quite hard, but so far this is pretty easy, especially for the loyal Lord SyNo. So hopefully this was also not too hard for you. But what do you think? I really want to hear what your opinion on this matter is. And we are basically already done for today. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the SyNoShOw. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Check out the Discord server, link in the description. And of course, a huge thanks to my channel members. And speaking of channel members, if you like my content a lot, maybe even think about joining and also becoming a channel member, which gives you these perks in return. And that was all from me. Have a nice day and see you next time.